Right now, I'm filming with my iPhone 12 Pro on a Hohem V2 mobile gimbals, and this is what it can do. Alright guys, I've never used a smartphone gimbal until recently because the video quality from smartphones is getting better. I must say, improved drastically. I've been using my smartphone to create contents daily basics with handheld, but deep down in my mind, I always want to try something fancy, something like gimbal shots. So the last few months, I got myself my very first smartphone gimbals, which is the Hohem X2, and I must say I'm pretty impressed by this little guy. But recently, Hohem sent us their V2 versions, and I was like, why not compare these two gimbals and show you what's the difference between these two gimbals. So let's get started with a quick overview of these two gimbals. Physically, they look the same except for the built-in AI tracking sensor, which is the main selling point of the V2. Both of them have a foldable compact design, and you can easily unfold the gimbal and tighten the knot so that it works properly. They have the same tripods, zoom slider, Type-C USB port, joysticks, buttons, and all of them at the same place, and they just feels pretty good. They are completely made out of solid plastic and it feels pretty grippy. Since they have a compact design, so they are pretty lightweight, and both of the weights is around 260 grams, and they comes with a mini tripod which weighs another 30 grams. You can mount this tripod at the bottom of the gimbal easily with the 1/4-inch screw mount. Even though these gimbals are small, but they have some pretty impressive payloads. They can support maximum payload of 280 grams, which is enough for most of the smartphones in the market. How about the user experience and functionality? Like any other gimbal, you need to balance it. Since this is a fairly small smart gimbal, so you can balance it pretty easy. First off, you need to unfold the gimbal until the arm is straight. Next, tighten the knots until it's locked. Then make sure the Hohem logo is facing upwards. Insert your smartphone and make sure your smartphone is at the center, and you're good to go. But before turn on the gimbals, you need to download their Hohem apps in order to activate the gimbal and also unlock the advanced features. Or no, you're still able to have the basic control using the button on the gimbals without going through the apps. Anyway, this gimbal is ready to go. Let me show you how to turn it on. So turning on is pretty simple. You just have to long press the power buttons. And something you keep in mind, these same buttons can do more than that. Press once to change between landscape and portrait mode. Double press the button to recenter your camera. Triple press to inception mode and it will rotate automatically, and personally I don't like it. Next is the joystick, which I believe you guys know what exactly it can do. Followed by the left buttons, which is the shutter buttons. Press the shutter button to start and record your video. This button can also work in the native app as long as you are connected to Bluetooth. I also did try to use my third-party apps, the Moment apps, but it doesn't work. However, in their official website, they mentioned that they support other third-party apps as well, so you should definitely check those out. Next, double press the shutter buttons allows you to switch between photos and video modes. Triple press to switch between front and back cameras. Alright, that's pretty much all the basic functions, but how about the advanced settings such as gimbal modes? So if you are new in gimbal, you should definitely read through the manual book just to understand the difference between each gimbal mode. But if you're a person who already used a gimbal before, then I'm pretty sure you're pretty familiar with all the gimbal modes. But you know what? Let me break things down for you. So first off, it comes with a pan and tilt. Second, pan and follow. Third, all lock. And lastly, POV mode. Another extra mode that I really like about this gimbal, which is their underslung modes. So right now you can get some pretty low angle view shots by simply just turn your gimbal upside down and it will automatically rotate to the right positions. I must agree that you'll probably get confused at first with all the gimbal modes because you have no idea which gimbal mode you are using since there isn't any display on the gimbal. But after using it for a while, I do realize that there's a green light at the right corner which indicate the corresponding modes. For example, blink 3 times refer to all lock mode, blink 1 time which means pan and tilt. The Hohem Apps has a Pro mode, which personally I don't really use it because I think there's a lot of restriction with it. You're only able to control the exposure, ISO and white balance when it compares to other third-party apps like Filming Pro or Moments, which those apps allows you to control even more settings and gives you much more flexibility. Next up, a very innovative technology, and these things separates between V2 and also X2, which is their AI vision sensor. So with the additional 36 USD, you're able to unlock some AI gesture features without going through the apps. Let's be honest, who likes to use apps when you're able to do everything on the gimbal itself? In order to use it, you have to turn on the AI sensor by pressing the button on the top. Once you turn on the AI sensor, you just have to show the OK gesture to turn on the face tracking. To stop the AI tracking, you just have to show the stop sign. And now is stop. We can go back to the face tracking by simply showing OK gesture again. Honestly, it's pretty responsive and pretty fast. It can even track back when the subject is lost. I can see how this feature can be very handful and useful for people who do a lot of vlogging and just simply film yourself without any help. Another things you can do with hand gesture is change between landscape modes and portrait mode by pointing your thumbs up and pointing to the right. There's also a built-in LED lights around the AI camera which gives you some extra lights for yourself. It comes with 3 brightness levels, and honestly, I don't think it works for bright day scenario, but it does help in a lower light situations. Alright, let's talk about the Hohem apps. There's a tons of settings in the apps such as photo speeds, motor response, joystick speeds, and a lot more. I don't really change all of these settings, but you can play around with it and see what works the best for you. Some additional modes. Even though the Hohem X2 does not have the AI vision sensor, but the Hohem apps allows us to have the face tracking through the built-in lens from your phone. I've done a simple test using both in-app and also the AI vision sensor from the V2. And honestly, I'm pretty impressed by the Hohem apps face tracking systems. Even though it might not be fast and responsive or even jerkier when compared to AI visions from the Hohem V2, but all in all, the Hohem apps face tracking systems is pretty impressive. The AI sensor is pretty practical and functional, I would say, because if you think about it, you don't really have to rely on the Hohem apps, because there isn't any direct relationship between the Hohem apps and also the AI sensor. So in short, you can incorporate the AI sensor with any camera apps that you prefer. So that's pretty much all the features about these two gimbals. Let me show how they perform in real world. The next thing is you can't use the ultra wide angle lens in Hohem apps, which I believe is because the lens will pick up the gimbal's motor when you're using the ultra wide angle lens. But it's not too bad for landscape modes, since the lens is going to be further away from your gimbal's motor. I also tried to use an extra lens adapter for my iPhone 12 Pro. Unfortunately, I couldn't balance it because there's an extra weight falling on this one side of the phone. I couldn't find any counterbalance mount on the gimbal itself, so I kind of DIY myself by putting on an extra phone mount at the opposite sides of the phones, and it works. These two gimbals are pretty impressive in terms of battery life. I've never really charged them since the first day I used. And on paper, they have 9 to 10 hours battery life, which is more than enough. However, there's a catch for V2. You're only able to film 4 hours with the AI sensor on and 2 hours if you turn on LED lights. Having said so, you can always charge your gimbals with a power bank while carrying the gimbals. Honestly, I'm not a fan of internal battery, but that's the only solutions you can do for this gimbal. Some extra notes. You can also charge your phone using these gimbals, which is great for emergency usage. Alright, that's pretty much it about these two gimbals. So after using the Hohem V2, I'm pretty confident that the AI technology is going to be a future for filmmakers. And it will get more popular starting from a small device like a mobile gimbal. So all in all, I'm pretty satisfied with these two gimbals. And if you're a vlogger, definitely check out the V2 versions because of the AI technology, and I can assure you it will make your life much easier. However, if you're a person who just want to get a smooth gimbal shot with your mobile device, then you can save some money and get the X2 versions. It won't go wrong. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys do enjoy, consider subscribe our channel, give us a like, share this video, and as always, create and have fun. I'll see you guys in the next video.